how I stopped living life through other people's perspective or people's ideas, and I started to live life on my own terms. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Cinderella. Welcome back to Figuring Out Life as I Grow, basically. So today, I'm going to share with you my experience of how I stopped living for others and creating a life that feels like mine. But I'm going to talk about what some of the things I experienced and ways that I've been able to change and evolve it. So I have my phone with me to help guide me through the things I want to talk about, just in case you see me looking. So, shall we? Okay. What's it even called anyway? Okay. So, I'll say that when you're growing up here, I think the idea to fit in starts with maybe your primary environment, like even with your parents and all. Yeah. And we always want to fit in. We don't want to always look like the odds one out. But most of the time, I found myself in that position. I always felt like I didn't fit in here because me and these people didn't have the same ideas of what life should be. And I felt like I keep thinking that I felt like from a young age, I kind of like understood what love did not feel like to me. So the pressures of trying to be a good girl started in high school. I think after I ran away from school, from boarding school before I went to day school, something like that. It started because it felt like I had already done something bad, so now like I have to always look like a good girl. And I don't think anybody wants to be in a position of being a bad girl. You'll be the one that maybe constantly blame for things that happen in the house, different things. There was things said about you. Anyway, I didn't want to I mean, I already didn't know what I wanted. I wasn't already fitting in a certain sector. I definitely wanted to look like a good girl. So, and good girl seems like you have to do what you're told. You have to go in the career line that they think you should go in with the options they selected for you. You have to always be obedient, say yes, don't ask questions. Actually, um, just be agreeable with everybody. Do what makes everybody happy, except yourself. So that's when all those things start, and that's where I found myself. And I think that for me, it played into apart from maybe going to boarding school, I just didn't fit in boarding school, so I didn't go. And they, sometimes African parents want you to fit into certain career choices to seem respectable and things like that. A lot of things for me it just wasn't clicking, if I'm being honest. It wasn't working for me because I like different things from what they said girls are supposed to like. It doesn't make sense. I remember I didn't know what I wanted to do with school then, and I had because they kept questioning, oh, what do you want to do? Because everybody that person knows they want to be a doctor, lawyer, or whatnot. For me, if you leave me alone, I want to be a dancer and a singer because I like those things. But those things are not encouraged. I remember one of my aunties say, hey, you want to be a dancer. Something like that. So that dream died fast. Anyway. But I remember going to secondary school and we had this teacher of us were close to. I realized that there was a time in school, he was actually telling us of like shifts that will happen between our relationship between our parents. Yeah, they start to doubt you a little more, and it was what he said was actually accurate. I wasn't doing anything wrong, but I noticed that my parents kept expecting worse from me. And I'm saying this, yeah, this one day we're going to sit down maybe on my podcast and talk about some of the ways that they create betrayal and mistrust between parents and their children. This is one of it. Always expecting the worst from your children. Children, they are not going to trust you. So that's what happened. And then I got to uni, still trying to be seen as a good girl because you want to be seen as a serious student. And I think even coming from our parents' generation, yeah, reputation is a lot to them. And I think they try to pass that down. And reputation is not always only maybe how this person acts, it's how people see you. And the truth is, people like someone like me, a lot of people hadn't seen me as a good girl, and I was trying to correct that. So I kept people pleasing. I kept doing things that were just not in line with who I was till final year. I think final year was when all those things I had been packing since high school finally started opening and coming. And I'm like, I got to final year, and this also applied in relationships. So our background, every time your parents, men don't like, and they say this to kids, and they wonder why young girls are doing certain things they aren't supposed to do. When you bombard your kids with men don't like fat women, men don't like this, what if your husband likes to eat this? I wonder what they think happens in girls' head. Everything starts to become about what another person likes, and then before you know, you are lost. You don't even know who you are as a girl. Anyway, let's move on. So the same thing happened in relationships. And then I think when I was about to go, I was dating somebody then, and then we had broken up. One thing I realized in that instance is that I didn't know who I was when that happened. I'm grateful we did. I'm very, very grateful we did. But in that instance, I was hurting. I didn't know who Cindy was because it felt like, okay, I'm supposed to like what this boyfriend likes. I'm supposed to be interested in his interests. That's how they raise girls. And I feel very lucky that I was able to snap out of all that conditioning. And that took depression, that phase. That was what happened to me when we broke up and I wasn't graduating. It was like the life that I thought was mine was shattering before my eyes. Nothing was working. That's how I felt. And in that instance, I felt very lost, and that's depression. Depression is just maybe I've been playing a certain role, and this role is no more fitting. I am not graduating like they said I'm supposed to graduate, so I can do this, and get married and whatnot. The boyfriend I say I have is breaking up with me. So who am I? That's what I was left with. And that was the instance that I got, I think, I don't know if it's, I got angry because it's like the lies, everything, I felt lied to. I felt like everything they've been telling me is bullshit because none of it brought me happiness. Anyway, so that was the moment where I was reawakening. And I know the first thing I did, I'm not saying this to encourage anybody towards any line. I left religion. Why? When I was going through that phase, there were a lot of comments. And one thing I heard a lot was maybe you did something and God is punishing you. And this is a thing that happens in our environment. I grew up in a space where it's still there, including people still think like that today. But let's just talk about it. Um, where when bad things happen in your life, God is punishing you. When good things happen, oh, God is pleased with you. So in that moment, I started to wonder, this one I'm unable to graduate. Maybe God is punishing me for doing certain things or even having a boyfriend. God is punishing me for doing this, so I'm not going to graduate. That's my punishment. And I felt very sad about it. I think I was glad that I just what was happening was I was just getting angry. That's it. And I think after that phase of feeling like God was punishing me, I did leave religion. And it wasn't because it just didn't make sense anymore. It didn't make sense. Because to me it's like this isn't love. Yeah. I'm saying this is not me encouraging anybody to leave any religion. Please walk your path by all means. So in that case, I was saying this isn't love, that um love is supposed to, as I said, from a young age, I knew what love didn't feel like, which is what I was seeing, which was a lot of conditional love. And going through that phase, I did leave religion, and that is one of the awakening I got. Leaving religion, I started to question so many things, everything, questioning everything, and I started to work on myself. That was the profound awakening I got. But one thing I knew that all that time before I even decided to leave religion and all, I was deeply unhappy. It felt like I was the saddest, like I was so sad within me. I was so insecure. I was so sad. I was just very lost because it felt like, oh, I have to be looking to this person. Oh, am I doing the right thing? Oh, it's okay. Am I doing what I'm supposed to do? All those kind of things. That's not a space you want to be in, seeking external validation from other people. So yes, I did leave religion and I started to work on myself. I think that people call it spiritual awakening, good for them. I call it, I'll say self awakening, waking up to myself, waking up to how life actually works. Yeah. So I started to change my mindset towards certain things. I understood in that instance how responsible I am for my life, which is something that no one told me. No one told me, and no one taught me that. I had to learn that on my own. And I'm grateful I did because from that moment, I started taking charge of everything happening in my life. I started being more conscious about my words, my actions. I remember it all started from be kind to yourself. I started practicing every day, be kind to myself. I started using this small by small to, or like taking small steps to really learn about me because you can't like what who you don't know. I didn't know myself, so I had to start liking myself again, start learning about myself. And this is the result of where we are today. And this is not an easy journey. I might be smiling and everything, but I was crying a lot then. I was depressed. I was going through the process of it. But one thing, I was so grateful for YouTube, the people I met during that time. So grateful because I kind of like saw life from other people's perspective, whereby there are a lot of people existing different from what we are living. And it really taught me to actually stay open to learning more. That because I'm living a certain way doesn't mean my way is the right way, sort of. So yes, living religion, I started to change my mindset that I'm in control of what I do, my thoughts too. I started to take I started to do practice. I started to practice changing from a pessimistic mindset of thinking that life is punishing me, yes, to actually understanding that I can actually choose what I want to think in this moment or choose what I want to believe and all of that. Yeah. It wasn't an easy journey. I was questioning a lot. I was still scared, confused, but it felt like I was taking and every day I kept feeling better. And this is not a day's practice. I kept doing be kind to yourself every day. I kept going for like I kept because that time I couldn't graduate, so I have to freelance and stuff just to take care of myself. And I was doing that, and I'm so grateful that I did not stop and I continued doing what I needed to do in that moment. And I noticed the change as I stopped hearing the negative voice more than normal. That's what I'll say. I started to change when, or I started to see the change when I stopped being so quick to have a negative interpretation of everything happening in my life. I think my phone is, I'll get to it. But I'm grateful that I was able to keep pushing because see, I didn't know anything that was happening. I wasn't sure what I was going through, but I had watched. I think another encouragement I had was maybe the books I was reading as well. That was the first time I read Crazy Wisdom. I read Law of Attraction. I found Lisa Nichols sharing her own journey through depression. And I'm like, she's talking about something I'm experiencing. So that was a great awakening for me in that moment, or a great find for me. I needed to see that in that moment. And I think that's one of the things that encouraged me to keep going. Yeah. Doing those practices were the like biggest shifts I made when it came to my mindset. Having to retrain my brain to stop seeing everything negative, stop thinking life is punishing me or something weird like that. I think I lived in a reality that was so black and white. Everything is black and white, good or bad. Where there's you are being punished and you're being really now I can say it is and laugh about it, but it was different then. So that was the biggest mind shift I had. and I kept practicing every day. I kept reading. I just kept staying open. One of the biggest change was choosing that I didn't know anything and I'm willing to learn. That's it. Because I was so depressed so much that I just wanted to just be happy again. I just wanted something to change. That's when I started doing the practices and I started to gradually. I can't even give you a timeline to when I started feeling better, but I started reconnecting with myself eventually. But it was tough. Those tough moments were tough, I won't lie. Yeah. Yes. So if we're looking at practical steps that I used to change my mindset, then I would say I started writing letters. I started journaling more. And journaling is, I think, because when I was younger, I used to journal a lot. Yeah, when I was unhappy, I used to write stuff in my little diary. Oh, God. But having to journal now and change things, where's my phone? Having to journal now, it's it's something I've been practicing, so I'm so used to it. So when I tell people to journal, some people ask me they don't know how to start. But for me, it was just writing how I was feeling. Whether I was angry, happy, I wrote everything. Especially anger, because I used to carry so much anger. And writing it in the journal helped me process everything. I was angry, writing, I'll write it. Whatever it is I'm feeling, I'll write it. All of that. It was helping me offload the energy I was carrying. I was carrying so much energy, and it was helping me offload it, processing it. And I think that's how I learned to forgive or to practice forgiveness, even myself. I write out exactly, and I think that's release because what happens is when you don't release those thoughts or energy, you keep ruminating on it. Yeah, you keep overthinking, thinking about it. But I learned that time to write about it. I even wrote unsent letters to maybe a situation that hurt me or a person. I was writing journals. I was practicing. That be kind to yourself was, I know people call it affirmation now, whatever you call it, reminders. I use that on my phone. I was using it all the time. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. And that was how I learned to shape my mindset in those moments. Yep. So, what does living for myself look like now? I think I'm in a space where I'm confident about the things that I like. Now, those things or the having to go through that process help me reconnect with me. So now there are things that I like Cindy likes. But that time, years ago, I didn't have anything like that. I didn't know what I liked because I was living life based on other people's thoughts, opinions, and likes, and including boyfriends. So right now, living for myself is I have things I like, I have things I'm interested in, I have dreams. I can't believe that I didn't have dreams before, but I have dreams now. I have goals. I have things I want to achieve in a year. I have things I want to do. And still, it's not like I'm not dating. Yes, I'm dating. I'm interested in all of that. But it's like there's more to my life now. I'm choosing it. And I think the consequences of not choosing your life is you get to deal with the repercussions of that. When you keep living for people, doing things based on what people think you should do, you'll be the only one feeling it. When you are sad, I was the only one that was sad. They were not sad with me. They think their advice was the best or their opinions were so great, it mattered. But I was the only one experiencing the sadness. I was the only one experiencing the depression. They didn't experience it with me. And I think that's one of the consequences of living other people's lives. You deal with other people's consequences because you didn't choose them. Now, whatever I like growing a business now, I'm dealing with the consequences, which is, or the difficulties that will come from it, which is maybe being a little bit more patient. There'll be tough times, with times you'll be making more sales, different things will happen. But I chose this life. I chose it. I chose the things that I want to do. And anything that comes with it, it's like you're confident, see, I can handle this. But when you're not the one choosing your life, it feels like you're suffering for other people's choices. I think that's what I'll say is kind of like the difference. Yeah. And I don't think you'll be happy. I wasn't happy. Unless maybe there's somebody else happy living other people's lives. Or there's something that somebody says that if everybody's always happy with you and pleased with you, then either you are lying, somebody's lying, somebody is hiding, or somebody is playing small. Let me put it that way. Yeah. How do I make decisions differently? So I'll say that right now, if I want to choose something that is, I ask myself questions if I really value it, what it means to me. Yeah. Before I used to seek other people's opinions and advice. I'm sorry. When I say I don't like advice, yeah, if people take some people take it personal, but I feel like it's my life. Yeah, I'm already thinking multiple thoughts in my head. Actually, I'm already thinking of different things, thinking of scenarios, thinking of different options. What makes you? There's a tweet I saw. What makes you think that it was even about unsolicited advice. What makes you think that your fantabulous advice or thoughts? I haven't thought about it. Something like that. Anyway, that's why I don't like advice because people only give advice based on their own perspective, and sometimes they are not productive in a way that they are not aware in a way that they help you think of your own choices or help you think to make your own choices. I think that's a better way to put it. Yeah. There are certain people that can do that. I think those are people that maybe you're trying to make a decision. Instead of telling you what to do, they ask you questions. Yeah. And that's what I do for myself. Whenever I need to make a decision, I ask myself questions and I get really honest. You need to be very honest with yourself. It's like, am I doing this for me, or what am I doing this to gain? Am I doing this for validation? Am I doing this to be seen? Whatever it is, you'll find your answer there. That's what I think. Yeah. So, what's my advice for someone struggling to create their own life? I think surrender. I'm not even giving this is not even an advice. I'm choosing you, or I'm telling you to keep going. If you're trying to create the life that you want, that requires you reconnecting with yourself. You won't find it outside. You find it within. Reconnecting with yourself is it takes see. If I'm going to say trust yourself, it took me a while to trust myself. It took me a long while. And but I'll say is it really you getting really honest. What do you like? Don't know what you like. Try different things to find what you like. And that's what I did. Get lost. People tell you to get lost. If you are feeling lost, feel lost. Try multiple things so you find out what's for you, what works for you. When I was going through depression, sorry, there were certain things that work for different people. And one thing I love was that I kept finding what worked for me, and I did. So if you're working this part too, trying to figure out how to create your own life, or if you feel like the life you're not living a life that's authentic to you, I think it's for you to start asking yourself questions. Yeah, what does this really mean to me? And I think best done journaling. Write it down, type it like process. Get really honest. Is this really what I want to do in life, or am I doing this because my parents said so, or my friend said so, or my boyfriend? Especially for girls, I grew up in Nigeria and household that kept telling you men like this, men don't like that, men. Time to get really honest with you. Is this really what you want, or is this what they say will make you happy? So start asking questions. That's what I'll say. Yeah. So, uh, what engagement questions should I? Have you ever taken somebody's advice before and it landed you into trouble, or it landed you in a position where you were so you felt like I shouldn't be dealing with this because it wasn't fully your choice. Anyway, maybe that's the engagement question for this video. Thank you for listening. I hope that as I have been able to start creating my own life. If you're feeling lost in this moment, I hope at least my video can make you feel like you're not alone, you're not the only one that has walked through this path. And if you have any questions for me, please leave it in the comment section. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with a video that I feel like somebody needs to hear. Yep, that's it. See you in the next video. Bye.